Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of my video on Cloudflare. And please subscribe and press the like button, turn it into a blue, and show some love to my channel. So in this video, we're going to be talking about why Cloudflare is a really solid investment in terms of deep diving into its competitive advantages, its product strength, its growth, and why towards the end I'll mention why one very important criteria which legendary investors use also applies to this company, Cloudflare. So again, this is not financial or investment advice, and I do hold this stock at the time of making this video, and I do plan to buy whenever I get the opportunity to. So firstly, let's just divide it into three segments, right? First, we're going to be talking about Cloudflare's competitive strength. Secondly, we're going to be talking about some growth numbers, and thirdly, why Cloudflare fulfills a very important criteria that legendary investors often use in evaluating a company, and that is going to be towards the end. So please watch the video till the very end. So first, in terms of competitive strength, I want to talk about the net retention rate of Cloudflare. Now you're gonna ask, like, Vatsal, what's the net retention rate? The net retention rate of any company basically tells us that how much are the existing customers of any company, how much are they spending in this fiscal year compared to the previous fiscal year. So if you're a company, you would want your existing customers to spend more on your company and your products and use more of your products. So net retention rate basically accounts for how much are your current customers paying, accounting for any upgrades or downgrades or churn in their product use. So the median churn, the median net retention rate for software companies is typically about 109%, which means each year existing customers are spending 9% more than what they were spending in the previous year. Cloudflare's net retention rate is about 119%, 119%, which is in the 80th or 85th percentile of software companies, which means even its existing customers are ensuring that there's a 20% or 19% growth in the product that they're consuming from Cloudflare, which I think is pretty insane because companies often find it very hard to retain customers, and a net retention rate of 119% shows that its existing customers, which I think are about 3.5 million, are really enjoying Cloudflare's products, right? So that's the first aspect of Cloudflare which I really wanted to highlight. The second competitive advantage of Cloudflare is its market share. In my previous video, I mentioned how 15% of the world's internet passes through Cloudflare, and even within that, 90% of all websites that use a content delivery network use Cloudflare, which means if you're a website today and you want a content delivery network, which means, by the way, you want better speeds, you want more cybersecurity, you want unlimited bandwidth, you are 90% likely to use Cloudflare as your company of choice, which I think is absolutely mind-blowing, and which is why I absolutely love this stock, and I think why it's very interesting. In terms of its competitors, right? Its main competitors are two. There's this company called Akamai, and there's another company, the all-famous Amazon. So Amazon Web Services CloudFront and Akamai are Cloudflare's main two competitors. But as you can see in this chart that I've highlighted, Cloudflare's market share has not only been increasing, but the market share of the other ones are more or less stagnant. And Cloudflare's market share is about 3 or 4 times more than Amazon Web Services. So that, I think, is pretty insane in itself, because we all know how technically advanced and how good Amazon Web Services is, and like so many companies use it. But Cloudflare's market share is 3 to 4 times that of Amazon Web Services, because it really solves a lot of problems, which I'll be discussing later on as well, and why it provides a really, really good service. Now, within sort of the last competitive advantage that I really want to highlight, which I think a lot of people don't talk about, a lot of YouTubers especially don't talk about, is the kind of data that Cloudflare has. Because it has a worldwide network of 200 data centers, it prevents about 57 billion cyber attacks every day, or 5,700 crore cyber attacks every day, which means that Cloudflare's machine learning algorithms and their AI sort of software, because they have so much data, they exactly know how to predict patterns in malicious attacks or cyber attacks. How do you clear out good traffic versus bad traffic? How do you spread the speed in any network so that users get an optimized experience, and so on and so forth. So the data that Cloudflare has is so powerful in the first place that it's just going to keep getting better and better. And I think this is exactly what's getting reflected in the market share numbers as well, where you see Cloudflare's market share just going up like that. The second metric that I want to touch upon a little bit is the growth numbers that Cloudflare has. Now, another thing I love about this company, and I think it hits a very good sweet spot for me, is that it's not really a startup, but it's also not as big as Google or Microsoft or like the tech giants, right? It's somewhere in the middle. It has characteristics of a startup, and it's an established company as well. So it has 2,000 employees, it has $500 million in revenue, it has 200 data centers and offices across the world, but it's also a startup in that its revenues have been growing at about a 50% CAGR for the last 4 years. So in the last 4 years, it's the number of customers it serves has gone up by 5 times. Its revenues have gone up by 5 times. So it's growing at an extremely good rate of 50%. Secondly, its product margins are 78%, and these are more or less sticky. So the kind of margins it had 3 or 4 years ago, it basically has the same margin today. If any company has that kind of margin, it just tells me that they're very good at what they're doing and that customers are really liking their product. A second aspect, I think, within growth is also the fact that 70% of their customers are using 4 or more products. Now, when they launched the IPO, that number was 70%, where 70% of their customers were using 4 or more of their products. And today, 90% of all their existing customers use 4 or more products of Cloudflare, which again shows how sticky and how good their business is. Now, even within this, right, it's not just about how many customers they have, but also what about their high-paying customers, because Cloudflare provides a lot of services for free. So how do we know that the big spenders are really doling out like cash onto Cloudflare? Now, in this, I'd like to highlight that Cloudflare has witnessed a 73% growth in customers that spend $100,000 or more every year. So for the last 3-4 years, it's had a 73% CAGR with respect to that. I've already spoken about the net retention rate, and in the chart that's coming up, you can also see how geographically diverse their revenue streams are, and even their revenues are very, they're not concentrated. So the top 25% of their customers, their share in the revenue pool is relatively less, which means that their revenue pool is really diversified. Now, the third and final category, which I promised I'd get to the end, is this category, is this sort of product category or company evaluation criteria that the legendary investor Monish Pabrai speaks about a lot. And this is the spawner criteria. So what is a spawner? A spawner is a company that can quickly can quickly roll out a host of products, and within each product be able to get a good market share. So a very good example is Amazon, where they started with online commerce, but then they went into cloud, they went into Alexa, they went into Amazon Whole Foods and a bunch of other services. They've gone into space exploration now. So Amazon's a spawner where you start off with something and then you're quickly able to roll out new products in completely different markets. This ensures that because you're serving so many different markets, you're not only well diversified, but the valuation that your company commands will also increase, which means your share price is also going to increase, which is great news for investors like us. Now, why do I say that Cloudflare is going to be a potentially big spawner, if not already? Is just by looking at the kind of product categories they have and the kind of products they offer to customers, right? So their core product is obviously the content delivery network, where if you're a website, they will deliver the content of your website to 200 centers across the world, and they'll increase your speed and lower cyber attacks on you. The other products that they're venturing into and that they've been very successful in are things like bot management, firewalls, data localization. Now, because Cloudflare has data centers and servers in like more than 170 countries, it can very well navigate data localization rules that are coming. So whenever data localization rules are spoken about, you will notice that the share prices of the very big software companies tends to like fall down on that day, because data localization is a really big problem for them. But for Cloudflare, data localization is actually their strength, because they have 200 data centers and they have so much data. They know how data transmits across the world, across the internet, and they're able to localize it effectively and deal with. So supposing if you're an Indian website and you want your data to stay within Indian borders, Cloudflare can program its data servers in such a way that data localization is not hampered with. So that is a big plus. They also have a very good suite of cybersecurity tools, where it's not just DDoS attacks, but a bunch of other products as well. And I'm not getting very technical in this video, because this video is more about providing an introduction and providing a crisp analysis of what Cloudflare does. Another very promising sort of product that Cloudflare is currently doing is something called Cloudflare Workers, which is basically their edge computing network, where if you're a developer or if you're a programmer, you can code your application, and in any of those 200 data centers, your code can run locally and it can process requests. It can serve customers at a very large scale through any of those 200 data centers. So Cloudflare is also allowing for serverless programming and edge computing, which I really think is the future. And in their investor releases, they've also spoken about things like the Internet of Things. They've spoken about things like doing API routing through their servers and things like that. So really the sky is honestly the limit for Cloudflare. So in conclusion, the whole point is that when you invest in any company, you have to make sure that it's not only growing very fast, but it also has a certain layer of safety in it. And this is something I personally prioritize a lot, that it's also about safety. So Cloudflare, because it's growing so fast and it has so many products and it's beating Amazon and it has such amazing market share, and because the internet is just getting started, it's just going to grow and grow and grow. Cloudflare, because it sits at a very fundamental layer of the internet, is never going to like face a threat. At least in the very distant foreseeable future, it's going to keep growing according to me. So I think that way, even if you earn say only a 15-16% every year, if you don't say 3x or 4x or 5x your money quickly, which is what like a lot of YouTubers will tell you, at least it's providing you that safety, and at least you know that you're investing in a company which is so strong. Another statistic I forgot to mention is their R&D spending, right? They're spending about 26 to 27% of their revenues in R&D, which means they're doling out newer inventions, more and more patents, which are helping the company extend its competitive advantages. So I hope you found this video good, and I hope you learned something of interest about Cloudflare. It is one of my personal favorites, and I will continue to keep purchasing it. And please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and if you want to watch any of my previous videos, here's a video of why you should invest in the US stock markets, and I've also spoken about another video which talks about Xpeng, the electric car manufacturer, and how like I think it's risen about 17% in the last 2 days, in the last two market trading days. So thank you, and I hope to see you more in my channel.